Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about combat target dummies and the difference between the several different types that you can obtain and what they could be used for and whatnot. So let's get right into it. There are several categories, as you can see, that I've got sitting around my room here. So we're going to get into we'll take this by level of health bars and we'll go from there. So the first and the lowest health bar one here, as you can see, is the Precursor. These can be obtained by completing a quest in the Clockwork City, where you run around and obtain parts and then complete it, and then you can obtain the Precursor that way. You can obtain this on each character that you have. So I've done it twice just to give myself an extra one to work with if I wanted to. What these are really good for, in my opinion, is if you have a PvP build and you're uh, working on your burst rotation. This is a really good option to work on those because the life bar is, I mean, it's bigger than what you're going to find in PvP zones, obviously. But if you can melt this down in a decent amount of time, then you're probably going to do really well against um, other players. So this is a really good one to focus down your burst windows to see if you can practice your rotation. I think these are really good for that. Uh, and with the inclusion of the battle scrolls add-on, you can now also look at your rotations to see, like for example, I did a couple of rotations last night just playing around. Um, this one I killed the dummy in 6.8 seconds, just 6.7, just kind of rolling through, seeing what I could do. There's a 5.9 right there. That I think that was just a reset there. I'll just remove that one. But as you can see, that's not the Precursor. There we go. There's a 5.9 there. So depending on what you're wearing and what your builds are for PvP, you can get a nice practice on your Precursor dummy here. The Precursors, as I said, they don't have a very large life bar, so that's probably the best one to practice your rotation for PvP on. I wouldn't consider this a good dummy to work on for your PvE rotation for DPS because the life bar is so small. You're not going to have time to really go through your rotation in most cases, and it's not going to give you a true test on your build in terms of seeing if you can sustain and whatnot. You want to have a little bit longer of a fight than this will give you. So I would say this is just more for PvP burst damages, or if you're working on an under level 50 character, maybe this is okay to work on. But once you get into CP levels, you probably shouldn't be trusting this right here as much, unless you're going to stack a bunch of them up and test like AOE skills and stuff like that. But that is the lowest level. So moving up, we have the 3 million dummy category. These skeletons here, you can either buy the recipe to build these from the furnishing vendor, or you can buy these on traders. A lot of times people will sell them on traders for I usually under 100,000. I think I have not priced these for quite a while, so I'm not really sure how much they would sell for. Um, but these are really good for bundling up like this and testing AOE situations to see how skills work together. Um, Not really great for testing a true build DPS build, but I usually bundle these together to test how well AOE skills work and damage builds work in an AOE scenario to see what works well together and what doesn't. But that's what I use them for. Uh, these are just the standard target skeleton humanoids. These are the 3 million dummies. I've got 6 of them, as you can see. And then there's the double or the robust humanoid. This is also sold from the furnishing vendor. It costs more to build these, and so these. One thing I will say, these also have full resistance. They don't have any debuffs or buffs on them on any of these categories so far. Uh, so you basically if you're attacking one of these dummies, for example, this target stone husk is pretty much identical to this skeleton robust humanoid, because they don't have any target, or excuse me, trial buffs or debuffs, and they both have a 6 million life bar. And so these are what you genuinely want to test your DPS build on, because that'll really cause you to go through a rotation really well, and get a good number as to what your DPS build does on its own without being affected or assisted by anybody else. And then basically, if you've got a really good build setup and you're good with that rotation, then taking that into a coordinated trial situation where you are going to be buffed by things is really going to maximize the effectiveness of what you've got there. So if you've got a build that you're testing out, this is probably the cream of the crop, in my opinion, because that'll tell you if you're going to be able to sustain it if somebody's not there to give you help, and then what kind of damage it does. This also is going to give you a true measure of what your build is going to do if you take it into Overland, or if you try to solo it in a dungeon, or go into like a veteran Vadishran Hollows or something like that. This will tell you what kind of damage you've got going on, and whether or not you need to kind of adjust things with a Mundus or a weapon or a trait or a glyph of some kind, or maybe even a gear set. Who knows? But the 6 million dummy is really one of the best ways to test your build for DPS in PvE content. Okay, so let's go into the trials gear, or dummy, I should say. I've got 3 different ones. There's actually a fourth. I don't have a fourth one to display here, but I will explain it. The Harrowing Reaper and the Atronach here are virtually the same. The one difference is I believe the Reaper has a little bit bigger of a hitbox, and so in some build instances, like if you're using the Undaunted Energy Orb or the we'll just put it on here, right here, the Necrotic Orb, the Mystic Orb. If you're using this skill right here, when you have it travel through like this, the hitbox on this Reaper is a little bit bigger. And so you can have some instances on builds where this Reaper will take more ticks from the orb than some of these other dummies would, or some other abilities. So these 2 dummies will both give you the same amount of buffs and debuffs. If you hit this dummy right here, let's see if I can get it. Okay, so if you hit this dummy right here, then you're going to get the same buffs as the Iron Atronach does. All of the buffs that you get in trials, so all of the standard buffs that you do for a trial parse, you're going to get all of these right here: the Major Force, Minor Courage, Aggressive Warhorn, Minor Courage, Major Courage, Minor Berserk, Minor Savagery, Minor Prophecy, Minor Brutality, Minor Sorcery, Worm's Raiment, Hircine's Veneer, Major Slayer. All of those are present on both of these, and likewise the debuffs are the same as well. You just go into the options here, and we'll show. Okay, now you can see when you hover over, the debuffs that show above are present on both. We just get him set properly. You know, he's bugging out on me, but this right here is the same essentially as this one. So if you're going to want to test your build to find out what your build does in a coordinated group, then these 2 are really good to use for that. They both have 21 million health, and they both give you the same amount of buffs and debuffs, and they're going to give you pretty much the same result. The other category are these target Centurions. These are also sold. The recipes are also sold from the furnishing vendor, and these are a little bit more of a pain to build yourself because they take quite a bit of ingredients to build. They take parts that you have to obtain from doing the Halls of Fabrication trial, as well as a part that you can purchase from the furnishing vendor as well. This is the standard 25 million target dummy here, and it is a full resistance dummy, and it does not give you any trial buffs. So this would be a really good dummy to essentially test your entire team on to to see if your team is optimal for what you're wanting to do. If their damage needs to go up at all, then that would be another thing. But essentially, this is not going to give you any debuffs or buffs, and so it's really going to be similar to attacking one of these over here, except for this has a 25 million health bar on it instead of the 6 million like the other ones do. The other category for this, there is a robust version of this, and that has a 64 million health bar, and that is basically supposed to resemble a. Let me just put him away and see if that helps. That is supposed to resemble a veteran trial situation where you can test your entire team damage if you want to while you go through rotations and buffs and timing and all that. So if you're interested in buying the components for any of these from the actual furnishing vendor, I'll just go ahead and travel to Deshaan and I'll show you where those are listed from the furnishing vendor. You can buy some of this on traders. I don't know how well the availability will be at any one time. And the pricing could be in a wide variety, depends on how people post it, if they're just going to post the actual recipe or if they post the finished product or just some of the components. There's a lot of ways that could be done. But we'll go over here to the vendor and we'll check it out. And I'll show you what you can buy from the vendor. So this is just from the standard vendor here. You're going to go to Rolis Hlaalu, and his inventory always starts off with the first kind of what's available here from the last chapter. And then when you get down to a little bit further here, there is the target Dwarf-Brass dummy here. As you can see, it costs 1 tempering alloy, 1 Kuda, 13 Regulus, 13 Dwarven oil, and then you need 12 Dwarven construct parts. That is the part that is from Halls of Fabrication. And then 4 Animus stones, you have to purchase those from this vendor as well. The Animus stones are down here towards the bottom, and they are 50 vouchers a piece. And so that is just for the standard dwarf brass Centurion target dummy. And you have to buy the recipe for 275, and then you would need all these materials just to build one. If you want the robust one that has the little blue eyes and the bigger health bar, it takes 120 Dwarven construct parts. So if you're not familiar with how to get the Dwarven construct parts, those are dropped from the Halls of Fabrication trial in the weekly coffer. So essentially, if you, let's just say you had 12 characters and you were going to run Halls of Fabrication 12 times a day, it would take you 10 days to get this amount of Dwarven constructs, because it drops 1 Dwarven construct part in your coffer per week per character. So, and then you would also need the 8 animus stones and all these other materials as well. Now, this is also where you can buy the skeletons and the robust skeleton. As you can see, these do not take the construct parts. They do take decorative wax, and then they use the animus stones as well. And then that is it for the target dummies that are available here. If you are wanting to purchase the Iron Atronach dummy, then you can buy that from the Crown store. And that is, I believe, in the Furnishing tab here. There it is, the Target Atronach trial dummy. 6,000 crowns currently. Sometimes this does go on sale, so keep an eye out for that. If you're interested in the Reaper trial dummy, that is only available, I believe it is around the Witches Festival, somewhere around in that vicinity. They do sometimes put other trial dummies in, or target dummies in the trials, or excuse me, the Crown store. I know they had a serpent one not too long ago. Also in the Gold Coast Bazaar, if you go over to the Gold Coast Wares, I believe it is, there is a target Ogrim in here that you can purchase for 1,950. This is going to be a 6 million dummy as well that does not give you trial buffs. So that'll be the category of dummy that's in there. Most of the time when you run into one of the character-like dummies, they're usually the 6 million dummy category. So that's typically what you're going to get most of the time, unless it says it's a trial dummy of some kind. Then it'll likely be a 21 million health bar. So I just wanted to do kind of a quick overview on dummies, what you can use them for, what they're good for, when to use them, and what not to trust them on. Just kind of a high level, just recommendation. Obviously, you can use them for whatever you want, but that's just kind of what they're intended for, or what most people use them for. I just wanted to do an overview on that in case it was helpful. We'll be waiting for the update 50 to drop on console, so I just wanted to record this ahead of time to have something to put out for when the update is being processed. So if you thought this video was helpful or interesting, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I have a very large catalog of videos on my YouTube channel, and they are all separated out by playlists, by created playlists and organized by subject. So take a look at my channel and see if there's anything else that is interesting to you. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Bye.